All right, so now we've got some pebbly blue latex. So, and I have a little asterisk over here, so I'm going to go ahead and hit Control S, and that's pretty cool. That's another material I can put in my portfolio. Now, if for some reason I want to allow the end user to kind of update these parameters, say, depending on the object, I don't know if you're going to want it super bumpy or less bumpy, or I don't know if you want like dark blue, or if you want to just change the color on the fly or make it a little bit more rough, you can give that ability to the end user. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of that. So if we double click our parent graph out here and we scroll down, you're going to see I don't have any input parameters. I have output images, and that's outputting the base, normal, roughness, and metallic, and our unlabeled output nodes. I should probably go in here and label this. So I'm going to call this spec, what was it? I forget. Specular level. Spec level. And again, this is just an identifier, so this is kind of behind the scenes name. But I'm going to label it specular level. And then we'll go ahead and group it under material. And I think that's cool. So if we could go ahead and hit save, double click this parent graph, you're going to scroll down, and now you're going to see it's in the material group. So it's material / specular level under my output images. But no input parameters. So let's go ahead and make some. A really easy way to do that is just to double click any node. And you know what? Let's simplify this just a little bit. I mean, it's not that it's not simple or complex or hard to do. It just let's give you some more options to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And instead of using this guy's base color, what I'm going to do is click out here with my space bar, do a uniform color, and we'll plug that into our base color. And we'll double click this, and we'll make it like a blue purple. And we'll keep it blue since we've already named it. We'll make it like a cyan blue. There we go. So now we have just an output color going in there. So if I want to give the end user the ability to change this color on the fly, what I can do is double click this. We can go to our output color, and down next to our output color you're going to see a little graph thing. If you click that and go expose, that's going to expose this RGB to the end user. You can go ahead and keep the name input or output color, and that's fine, or you can hit new and name it something else. I think output color will be okay. Hit OK. And then now if we first of all, you're going to see we no longer have access to this output color. I mean, we do, but just not where it used to be. It's got a little light up graph here, and it's going to our parent graph. So we double click the parent graph and scroll down. We have an input parameter called output color. We open this up. You're going to see the identifier is output color. The label is nothing for right now. I'm going to leave it alone for now. No group. Default is blue. And if you want to change this default, let's say we want to make it really cyan, you can go ahead and do that. And as you change that default, then it'll update in here. You just don't have access to it when you double click this node anymore. So double click the parent graph, go into your output color, here's your default. So if we just leave this alone as is, let's see what it's actually going to do when we give this to the end user. So I'm going to hit Control S, make sure this is saved. Go to our unsafe package that we've been kind of throwing test stuff into, and I'm going to double click this one. I'm going to go ahead and delete this titanium that we've been previewing. I'm going to open up our blue latex, drag the, here's your output, so I can go ahead and collapse that. This is our substance graph. Drag blue latex in there. If we hit 3, that'll be collapsed material node. You'll see that we don't have any stragglers out here, so we've named everything correctly in our output nodes. Drag this over. Cool. And did I do something weird? Let's see, file, new substance, physically based. Oh, I didn't make a new one. I just dragged it into our old one, and we had an ambient occlusion out there. Sorry, threw me for a loop there. So now this plugs right in, and it previews just like the other one did. However, there's one minor difference, and that is if we double-click the blue latex that we dragged in, you're going to see we have output color available to the end user, and the end user can go in here and change it from light blue to maybe a dark, dusty, kind of desaturated blue. No problem. How cool is that? So if we want to play around with this metallic, or this latex blue, what we can do is double click this, or again, we can right click, open reference, and then we can kind of hop back and forth. So now we've exposed output color, and that was easy enough to do. So let's go ahead and expose some more parameters. One thing you can do is let's double click this normal, and you can change the intensity. So on this intensity, I'm going to go ahead and do expose. And intensity is fine. If you want to give it a new name for you can go ahead and name it norm. Now, I named it norm intensity, and I hit OK. And that, of course, if I double click the parent graph here and scroll down, you're going to see it gave me a new input parameter named norm intensity. If for some reason you just left it intensity, that's okay. All you got to do is come in here and just change the identifier. All that little drop down is doing is naming the identifier for you. Now for this one, the default is 0.53. If you want to make it so that it's like super intense for the end user at first, you can go ahead and do that. We'll make this 0.5. So if you double click this number in here, you can just type in a number. And let's go ahead and label these. Let's be nice to our end user. So norm intensity is the identifier will show up if you have nothing else. So if you'll remember when we were on the other one, it just said output color, all one word. Let's go ahead and give it a label, and we'll call this base color. And on the normal map, I'll name this normal intensity, and we'll go ahead and save blue latex. We'll hop back over. We'll just go to our new graph tab, and we'll double click this, and you're going to see we now have it labeled nicely base color, and they can choose the color. And now we have a normal intensity. So if we right click in here, view outputs in 3D view, just to make sure that these are the outputs I'm seeing and not something else, I can change the normal intensity way up, or I can crank it way down. But the default, you'll notice, was at 0.5, or wherever we said, I think it was 0.5. So, oh, that's another thing. So I'm going to go back to our blue latex tab, double click our parent graph. Another thing you can do is if you don't want your end user to change the normal map very much, you can tell them, you know what, you get to choose between 0.5 and 0.6. You can clamp it for them. Or if you don't care, you can just make your minimum 0 and your maximum whatever. They can overcrank it to hell if they want to. And I think that it was set to 3. So it's kind of up to you. If you want to give the end user a little bit of control, you can kind of control how much they do, or you can just make it a free-for-all.